Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Arwin, trying to join during the introduction, as he does. Ryan's Logic, Refracted Curvature, Righteous Force, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, hey, hey.
Well, that was good. Excellent enthusiasm levels. I'm 100% with it today. Hopefully won't be fiddling or tweaking with anything computer related, and therefore we'll have a bit more of a actual show rather than chit-chat amongst you guys without a host leading the way. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Are you pleased about that? Did you enjoy having free reign yesterday?
No, I was good yesterday, but I mean, your leadership is always needed on your show.
Well, indeed, at some point when you've been messing around with a computer failure, you've just got to actually do it. And you know that when you do, you're going to have an issue of some description, something might go wrong, something needs attention. So I said after the show to my wife, I am so grateful for my actors, which is what your class does on YouTube or anywhere else. The people who come, like Arwin, like Refracted, like Righteous, like Brian, who keep the show going in times where if I was just doing a live stream and not talking to anybody and saying, oh, I'm just going to do this and telling people what I'm doing technically, it would be the dullest thing ever. I have done those streams when needs must. But to just let you guys take the helm and just basically run with it and do a show yesterday meant there was actually a substantial show. It was like over 3 hours of chit-chat and discussion. 1 or 2% of it was me, if that. So thank you. I will enjoy listening to it when it gets published to the general public tomorrow. So yeah, if you're not a member, check that out. It'll come out on Nathan Oakley channel tomorrow, the uncut and after show for 1981. This is 1982. Let's get on with a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, they only have a claim of a refracted position, and the maths for that refracted position are based on a non-measurement of a geometric position. So they don't
AKA the Arwinian paradox, which on Ballbusters, Arwin did a pretty appalling job. Oh, I should start the recording. Hold on 1 second. On Ballbusters, Arwin did a pretty atrocious job of concisely summarizing his own paradox, which he coined the name of when he first concisely summarized that you can't get an R value from a geometric horizon to refract the horizon with the R value. There you go. I polished that up overnight while I was thinking about it. So that's the Arwinian paradox. But when Arwin did his Ballbusters summary, it was terrible. It took about 5 minutes. But Brian's just done an equally good job of explaining why. Now, over the I don't know, I haven't been paying close enough attention because of a computer error and because of various other bits and bobs that have been going on. I didn't get a chance to listen to QE's full show on why the ball, that would be a globe Earth, can't even have a horizon in terms of the rate of change when you're describing slope versus curve. Now, I'm sure he will go through this on at least 8 more occasions, as I can, having heard it twice, be able to at least repeat it without necessarily understanding how to argue it. Which is probably, I'm going to assume, the same as many people who are listening who may have heard this, even the ones who've heard it on Ballbusters, which might be me included in that list if I'd have listened, which I haven't. Not Ballbusters, QE Live. Speaking of which, there's a QE Live tonight, but it's a slightly earlier time, so it's 6 PM UK time. So there's a change of time and a time change that's occurred. So I noticed it in the one of the Skype feeds. So if you are going to tune in for actual flat Earth information from Quantum Eraser at the source of it all, then tune in today on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel, Be Here or Be Sphere, for Quantum Eraser Live. And I assume he's going to be going through exactly that we've just discussed in regards to how you cannot have a horizon on a sphere Earth. It's something that could not exist. So he'll go through that tonight. Go ahead.
Tonight's show is based on the basic presentation is going to be the time zone presentation, time zone terror. But I'm sure he will go through that because, I mean, the whole point is that the word horizontal is derived from horizon. All horizontals are parallel to each other, as Bev says, and all horizontals are parallel to the plane of the horizon. It's true. You know what I mean? That's where we get horizontal from. And horizontal is rate of slope 0. So anything that has a rate of slope is not horizontal, which would be, an elevation change, which would be, the horizon would have to be. You'd have to be able to, between you and the horizon itself would have to have a rate of slope that isn't 0. That can't,
Well, further to that as well, not to talk about the horizon, but just level and horizontal. All mathematics utilize level as horizontal. If you're going to say the surface level is curving, you invalidate Earth curve mathematics, orbital mechanics, celestial navigation, pretty much everything that you would consider to be a globe uses level as horizontal. So,
well, someone actually pointed this out in the comments. So shout out to you. It's actually one of my members, LLB Store. So shout out to you. He also referenced this back to Bev. Now, maybe it'll become more apparent why both you and LLB Store reference this back to specifically Bev in this regard. But there we go. I'll just read out his comment. It says, Bev checkmated to confront flat Earth. Let's create a virtual rectangle. I'm standing at sea level. Make the virtual rectangle 30 miles above me and 30 miles below me in height, with a width of 20,000 miles to the left and to the right of me. Would all humans within our known continents be within this virtual rectangle? Question mark. If so, welcome back to flat Earth. Well, that was a really well laid out comment, LLB Store. The only question is, why was that reference to Bev? But there we go. I mean, maybe you just happened to be watching Bev, same as you, Brian. I can ask you and then contextualize it with LLB Store's comment, because you referenced it back to Bev also. So although I won't find out from LLB, I'll find out from you because you also did it. So why did you do it?
Well, Bev always says, Bev, I think it's just an official way of saying, or an official definition, that all horizons are parallel to each other and all horizons are parallel to the plane of the horizon. Bev, I'm pretty sure I have that verbatim, that Bev always says it that way, and he never deviates from that.
Sorry, just repeat it. All parallels.
All horizontals.
All horizontals are parallel with the plane of the horizon. Correct?
No, it's all horizontals are parallel to each other, and all horizontals are parallel with the plane of the horizon, or to the plane of the horizon.
All horizontals are parallel with each other. That, to me, seems almost redundant. But then again, you've got to kind of say what it is to say what it is, I suppose. But the second bit, and all horizontals are parallel with the plane of the horizon. I just want to get that bit because that's the more more pertinent bit, especially in light of QE's description of no horizon on a ball. When you're saying, because Bev, I may as well reference it back to him, shout out to you, describes this or concisely summarizes how all horizontals will be parallel with the plane of the horizon, therefore no horizon on a ball.
Yeah, well, in fairness to Bev, he was saying it some years ago, like, he was Bev works just basically off of basic geometry and surveying. It's like he keeps it as simple as possible. So he was saying it years ago, the horizon is horizontal. Like that's part of why he, I'm sure, why he used the water level as an argument so much, because it's like the water level, and this is pretty much verbatim as how he says it, the water level is a tool that establishes a horizontal plane of reference. Now, we know it does, but the boilers obviously can argue against that. But the point is that's what it establishes, a horizontal. So it's just impossible for the globe to have an horizon, because horizon is where we get the word horizontal from. That can't exist on a globe. It's that simple, isn't it?
Got a keen audience already, up to 52 people watching, and we've only been going about, 10 minutes? Wonderful. Please share the show. A very warm welcome. It's good to be back on the air and actually interacting with you as an audience, and indeed my own panel, for that matter. Hello, QE.
That was a profound statement. Hello, boys.
Boys?
Can't have a horizon. Can't have a horizon on a globe, man.
You go through this. You said that in terms of the rate of change with a curve versus a slope. Now, I've heard it a couple of times, but there's no way I understand this yet. So, go ahead.
I just woke up, and I still think I can do it.
I hope so.
So, horizontal lines are derived directly from the horizon. According to the slope-intercept formula, the slope for a horizontal line, as everyone knows, is the baller's IQ, 0. Whereas the definition of curvature is the rate of change of slope. So, Lucy got some splaining to do, because
let me just repeat that.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
You can't have slope of 0 with a horizon. Everyone knows, everyone sees the horizon, right? You can't have a slope of 0 on a substance that has a non-zero slope. Curvature. End of charade. It's all over.
Okay, so let me just repeat that back to you so you can tell me if I understand or not. You're saying that a curve is a rate of change in slope.
No, curvature.
Curvature is the rate of change of slope. And a horizon has 0 slope. Horizontal has 0 slope. Therefore, the very definition of what gives you horizontal, aka the horizon in this instance, isn't conducive with something that has a 0 value for slope when curvature is rate of change of slope. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. It is simpler than I thought. It's very simple. That's good. I like that. I like the simple ones.
Yep.
3 times. I've only heard that 3 times and I understand it. That means it's good. If it's 10, that's not good. If it's 20, it's Coriolis effect. I still didn't get that. To the day that I went on Globebusters, you were still casting your mind back, 6 years? When I went on Globebusters, and I was asking you to explain how to spin positively the gyroscope into Coriolis. Your advice, very well taken, and I took it, was don't use the gyro. Use something else that has the same motion, the same effect, which in the case that I used, I turned it into the pendulum because it was less combative. In other words, when explaining to Bob, who essentially had affirmed the consequent on behalf of the globe live on Netflix, as live, I should say, on Netflix, only to then confirm the affirming the consequent and say, oh, no, actually, ether. Anyway, when I did my critique, it's how do I approach this without completely demolishing their notions of what their gyroscope should or shouldn't be doing? And the answer was, according to QE, don't use the gyro, use the pendulum. Because then there's so much less personal attachment to your example when you describe how Earth's claim to turn underneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum. Therefore, Earth's turning underneath stuff, 15 degrees an hour noticeable in airplanes. That was the point I was trying to get across to them. If I'd have, as I originally intended, had it not been for the advice of Quantum Eraser, who is amazing, you just use their gyro, because aren't I clever? Look, I'm using your gyro to spin it into how the Earth isn't turning. See how many puns there was in there? Anyway. Yeah. Well, if I'd have done that, they'd have been on the defensive Not that they weren't anyway. You know what I mean? But I think it was very good advice. Not only that, the reason I'm making this point is to say that even then, I still didn't have a full handle. I still didn't have a concise grip on Coriolis effect. And although you did, you were still trying to wrap your head around how to explain to an audience how Coriolis effect and the Earth turning underneath stuff aren't the same thing. You have to detach them. Once you understand the principle of Coriolis effect and how Coriolis effect is a non-inertial turning reference frame underneath an inertial reference frame, when it comes to referencing the globe Earth turning, forget Coriolis. Just forget it. Just now understand that you've got an Earth that's turning underneath stuff and what would happen as a result of that. So you had to kind of take people along a path of understanding Coriolis to then tell them why they need to forget it. Now, what happened as a result of that was the Globers just took immediate advantage of that, didn't they? Because they were saying, well, let's forget the effect of Coriolis because we'll detail it from the projectile's point of view. Now fondly named Globiolis effect and various other iterations. But, you know, they always take something that we use as a tool here on Flat Earth Debate or on Quantum Racer or Ballbusters or wherever we may be. They'll take what we use as a teaching tool to try and not dumb things down or not even oversimplify things, just make them concise and easy to understand and get the person to relinquish an aspect of it so that their understanding can debunk a globe. The Globers will see that as a crack that can be opened up and exploited to get their own side to forget about what Coriolis really is when detailing how not pendulums, aeroplanes drift. Hey, Wolfie. You clown. Anyway, there's a lot of fun to be had with these complicated subjects. Not. But there we go. Yeah.
On that claim that airplanes are drifting or that they're correcting for Coriolis.
Wolfie the dumbass.
Right?
Sorry, couldn't help it. Go ahead, John.
Right. They're claiming a latitude-based Coriolis, where as you change in latitude, Coriolis will either increase or decrease, or what they say is Coriolis, and what we've called Globiolis. But how do you get your latitude?
Didn't they have a device to correct for Coriolis deviation?
Yeah, that makes it actual, though, doesn't it, Arwin? This is the point that John's getting there, I'm sure.
But you get your latitude to begin with.
Oh, he wasn't going where I thought he was. I love these moments. Why didn't I hear the sound of a V12 going by that highway over my head? All I'm thinking about is, no, what they need to focus on how the non-inertial turning reference frame that you're observing Coriolis from has you as part of it, and the effect that you're observing is a not actual drift. Therefore, how can you have the induced amount of drift corrected for, or induced based on a latitude system, when it's a not actual deflect? No. That's not where John's going, refracted curvature's going. What he's done is he's hopped into his Lamborghini about 20 minutes ago, buckled up the seatbelt and listened to the tunes, and then when he's ready to go, he's done 0 to 200 over the highway, over the top of me, that is Coriolis effect, and pointed out that as soon as they use Globiolis with a latitude-based deviation that's actual, they'll need a flat Earth to get the latitude-based system. Right, John? You're going to need a flat Earth
Absolutely.
for that?
Yes, sir.
All roads lead to flat Earth. Speaking of which, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from, I'll say that again, from a curved baseline?
Only if you use curved geometry with curved angles.
No, that would be utilising a presupposed spherical Earth and drawing to that presupposed spherical. Did I not repeat from twice? I'm sure I did.
Well,
From to doesn't really matter.
You're not on Ballbusters. You don't have to go down your mic. You blew everyone's eardrums off, Arwin.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. I'm very sensitive to such things. 60 people watching. Please share the show. Warm welcome to you all. Go ahead. Was that Brian?
Yeah. Well, if you pre-assumed that you had a geometric globe horizon, but it was a refracted position, and you've done your height-of-eye/dip correction based off of that refracted horizon that can't exist then you might be able to create a tangent plane and then take an angle off the tangent plane. But you will only be allowed to have one vertical perpendicular to that tangent plane, even though it'll have to be a horizontal.
Sorry, I like your use of weasel words. Take a tangent from, did you say?
Yeah. Well, you're going to create a tangent. That would be your 90. That would be your horizontal.
Yeah, that's two, though, isn't it? When you say create a tangent, you're drawing a straight line that you're going to call a tangent to this, and you've already disclaimed that it's not possible to acquire unless you've got a flat Earth ball. That's not acquiring it from a curved surface. That's drawing a straight line to a presupposed spherical Earth that's going to be derived. The presupposition will be derived from a flat Earth measurement in the first instance. Not that you're disclaiming this.
Well, you're going to pre-assume that what you have is a tangent plane, as opposed, because you're pre-assuming that the horizon you're seeing is a refracted position that's refracted from a globe's geometric horizon, and the word horizon can't obviously fit on a globe because it.
Okay, I follow that. The only problem is that the purpose of the question, in terms of any evidence that you can acquire said elevation angle measurement from said curved baseline, is in reference to Earth, and how you're actually utilizing this elevation angle. The purpose in terms of the argument is specifically in regards to celestial navigation. Well, when you describe drawing out a tangent plane from, how did you phrase it again? You did it really cleverly. I can't remember how you phrased it. I'm not going to go through it.
Yeah, I used a claimed refracted horizon to do my dip correction from, and then that dip correction allowed me to create a horizontal at my eye line, which I will claim as a tangent plane.
Okay, but that tangent plane that you drew and imagined out from your eye line horizontally isn't conducive with ground positions, is it?
Is it a tangent if it doesn't touch a sphere?
That's just where I went to, John. Hold on. John's just said, is it a tangent if it doesn't touch the sphere? Well, it's going to be touching the sphere in Brian's example, but at your feet.
Well, no, because it'll be at my eye line, because I'm correcting. See, it depends. If I'm claiming to correct, see, I can't make any reference to a vertex that's at my eye line going down to sea level, because I need a horizontal. And that will be, if I'm believing I live on a globe, that will mean that I believe sea level is in reality a curved level, right?
What?
That sounds stupid, right? A curved level. That's what I have to believe if I'm a baller.
No, that's not correct. And you're talking about an anti-flat Earth position that you've argued with someone. In reality, this is, in this interim, we'd be transposing. Is that the right word? Putting that plane in the middle of the globe. Not believing we've got curved zontal, bendy zontal.
Well, but see, I'm talking about the actual creation of the angle itself.
Earlier. Okay, my bad. No, you're talking earlier. Okay.
When I do the dip correction, I have to pre-assume that the horizon I'm seeing is only an optical point, as in there is no water there. It's a refracted position, and I do my dip correction based off of a belief of that being a refracted position, and I bring that line that's going from my eye to the horizon up to my eye line, and that gives me the horizontal. And then when I have the horizontal, that allows me to then have an angle, and I then take that angle and subtract it from 90 degrees, and then what's left, once I have that angle, I then bring that to the center of my globe, and then I measure an arc length from the center of my globe. That's what I do.
What about the other two stars? Hold on. What about the other two stars?
Well, I do the same thing with them as well. That's what I have to believe.
But for the second and third star, that would only work when you start with your first reference point in Earth, in the center. It only works that way if you then follow the process in Earth after the first measurement.
Yeah, but this is I'm giving you the position of what most of these people believe.
No, I get that. I'm just pointing out that at the point that you can do it all for one acquisition of one angle, as you describe, But at some point, and you did, you then transpose, is that the right word? That top tangent plane that you've drawn from your feet or eye line, and then put that in Earth at the center of the equatorial plane, with the globe Earth now wrapped around you with you in hell. Okay. But from that point, the reason you've done that is because you need a reference plane with everything on the same level surface for the next two stars that you're going to use to acquire your fix and your position with celestial navigation. Ergo, if you then try and say, well, no, I'll do the same again for the second angle, you'll only ever describe it at the equatorial plane from that point, because it cannot and would not work for the second and third measurement. You can blag that you're describing a refracted point for your eye line tangent, but that doesn't make it so, and it also doesn't make it function until you incorporate the blag of moving everything to hell.
Well, see, what I detailed there is more of a anti-flat earthers understanding of it. In reality, if I'm a general bowler, general glober, everyday person, and I'm doing celestial navigation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create those three circles of equal altitude, and I'll have them all crossing at one point, and that would be my coordinates, right? But instead of using the circles, what I will use is what's known as lines of position, which will be three crossing lines, and those lines will be like tangents to those three circles. And where those three crossing lines meet, that will be my coordinates. So I then will get to ignore those circles, because the only place I can place those circles then from there is onto the Universal Transverse Mercator map, which is a globe map, right? Where they took the latitude and longitude grid that they created the globe from after they hijacked it from flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. And I can then, if I want, once those three circles are placed onto that Universal Transverse Mercator projection, they will be distorted. And I will then redistort them again by using the Haversine formula and making them three circles, which aren't circles, they're actually spherical caps that meet at the same point on a globe. That I can do all that mathematically, but in reality, I've measured three circles across mean sea level, basically.
But hold on, those lines.
That's what's happened in reality.
Those lines of position they say are tangents, are still straight lines on the ground. So the ground must be a level.
Yes.
The ground must be a level plane for that to work as well.
Yes, but it allows me, when I'm doing it, it allows me to ignore the three massive circles of flat I have measured with my sextant. It allows me to ignore those.
Well,
I
get that you've already disclaimed that you're giving me, or giving us, an anti-flat earther position. But when you say ignore them, well, no, they function, as John said, on a flat plane. And the plane that we'd be describing in this instance would be the equatorial plane at the center of a sphere Earth. So while you say, well, I can then ignore them, no. All of the diagrams that you'll find will show you how you can acquire this first angle, describe a tangent plane that doesn't go out to a point that's a GP. It then gets transposed because they all have parallel light rays coming in, and therefore it matches the light that's going to the center. Yeah, that works fine for one, to get you to the equatorial plane in hell. But do it with all three, suddenly, no, it doesn't work anymore.
But they don't do that with celestial
Hold on,
navigation.
John. Go ahead, Brian.
They don't do. See, that's something the anti-flat earthers do. But celestial navigation don't do that.
No.
Celestial navigation what I mean is that they will show that happening maybe in some of their diagrams, but in reality they don't do that. So everything is going onto maps and forms that are designed. Let's say forms that are designed for a line of position crossing. Everything is being done on a table. None of this is happening on a sphere, but they can make a video that shows that they bring it to the center of their globe, blah, blah, blah. But none of that actually happens. Everything they do Although the projections they're using eventually, like the universal transverse Mercator, that's based off of a globe. But the point is, it's still flat. Everything they're doing is flat, even within their world. But the anti-flat earthers actually think that there's, because Prototav made a video where he drew circles on a toy globe. And some of the ballers actually think there's people out there on ships drawing circles on toy globes. That's what we're dealing with.
Let's just go to John because he had something to add in a second. But I will just say 70 people, just over 71 people watching. Very warm welcome. Pleased to have you. Obviously back in the driving seat, as we should have been yesterday, but I wasn't. So there we go. Please share the show. It's very good to have you. And an announcement. There's something very, very important just happened in the last couple of minutes. Adam Meakin has arrived. Very exciting. Please share the show.
Excellent.
First of all, I'd like to say hello, Adam.
I would too.
But
go ahead, John.
But the main point is the parallel light that they would assert that would give them the ability to transpose these angles to the center of the sphere doesn't deal with the question of how you get an angle from a curve. It is a red herring at best, because even with parallel light, you will still need a flat plane to measure your angles against. It's almost non sequitur.
Yeah, at so many points in the process, you require Earth to be flat for this to function.
Well, it's a two-dimensional situation. Although nothing is really two-dimensional in the world, but it is a two-dimensional situation, as in fundamentally, mean sea level is just a straight horizontal plane, right? And you're using mean sea level to measure these three circles on. So everything, and then you're using a map, right, that you're placing your lines of position, even if you're not putting in full circles on, or you're using a form, a line of position form. I can't remember the proper name for it. So, and that's a flat piece of paper. Everything you're doing is flat. Every single thing you're doing is flat. Your belief of what you're doing doesn't come into it. That can be your own personal belief, but everything you're actually doing it's a two-dimensional thing. Because if you're using the latitude and longitude grid, that's a two-dimensional grid. So you're trying to find out your coordinates in relation to the coordinates of the GP point of Polaris, which because that's a coordinate that never changes. So you're trying to find out your coordinates in relation to that, right? And that's on a two-dimensional grid. The latitude and longitude grid can't work without it being two-dimensional, without it being a horizontal plane. Right. No matter what they want to believe, they're still always on a flat plane.
Exactly. Every time that coordinate system is mentioned, it doesn't matter that they've got a bald belief or how they understand it to be, let's get this right, transposed onto a globe by the Haversine, projected out onto a tube, and then rolled out flat as the transverse Mercator, to then be able to call what is a flat plane grid that's been derived from circles that move around Polaris when they're put on a crisscross grid instead of a circular grid. But in between the conversion process, they converted it onto a sphere via Haversine. Therefore, they can say that the transverse Mercator is a globe projection. Therefore, Earth's a globe. It's like, no, but why did it need to be transposed back onto a flat grid, regardless of it not being circular anymore? Well, because it's a flat plane that you're dealing with. And it only works and functions that way. That's how the latitude and longitude system was created in the first instance. It is a flat plane grid system.
Well, the latitude and longitude grid is something that was measured and has to be measured across a horizontal plane. So it's a horizontal plane, two-dimensional grid. And it's based around time, Greenwich Mean Time. All that is that's all based around the latitude and longitude grid, which will be shown in the time zone presentation later, because time zones prove it. But the thing about it is once they took that grid and they made all the south ends of the longitude lines meet, they created a globe of radius 3959 miles. And then they took all those latitude and longitude positions on a globe, and they made them into a cylinder. And that cylinder is called the Universal Transverse Mercator, which is just a big rectangle flat map. But it has all the continents and countries in the wrong positions, let's just say, in relation to each other. So then you can put your 3 circles onto that map, which will instantly distort the circles, and then use the Haversine formula after that to make that map, that projection into a globe again. But none of it means anything because everything you've measured is flat. You haven't measured anything that's not flat.
Sorry to cut you off just 1 second.
And
So,
you want.
Just 1 sec. Divergent Droid in the chat has just dropped your video in there, which I encourage everybody to go and watch. So Be Here or Be Sphere for the Brian Logic's YouTube channel, and his video, How Latitude Lines Are Derived from Elevation Angles to Polaris. And that's on Brian's Logic, and the video is called Polaris Kills the Globe, End of Story. And there's a link whizzing its way by that's been posted by Divergent Droid. So check that out. Give it a like, leave a comment, give Brian some algorithmic love.
And I wanted to just speak up for the Earth for a bit, because I think that all this reminding of its flat measurements and all that's very hurtful, because we all know this, the Earth is trans-spherical now. So please address it as the sphere that you can think of it as, despite measuring it flat.
I see. The sphere you can... Arwin's English just badly comes across. The sphere you can think of it as. In other words, the flat plane, well, as a globe believer, you're imagining it akin to somebody who is transgender by analogy, thinking they are male when female or female when male. You can think of Earth as being globe-shaped. It isn't. It's flat.
Yes.
It may identify as globe-shaped, but it isn't.
Right, but if you constantly say it's actually flat, that's spherophobic. That's really mean.
Spherophobic. Yeah, there's got to be something that they can define it as, Arwin, and you might be onto something, because they can't define it in religious terms, or as we discussed the other week, as a protected group. It shows too much weakness. It has to be accepted as reality. Therefore, how can you stop people? Well, they've done it algorithmically with us, haven't they? The opposers of the religion of the globe, heliocentrism, are us. Well, what do you do with your opponents? You suppress them to the bottom of the YouTube algorithmic searches, and then have anybody who opposes you come up at the top of the list. Done.
Yes, that works statistically, but you could also consider that, well, maybe the way they're going about it is that they know Earth is flat. It's just that it can't handle, the Earth itself can't handle that it's flat. It likes to be thought of as spherical, so it's basically trans-spherical.
That's a reification fallacy. The surface of the Earth, the soil, the ground, that has no opinion. That's a reification.
You're hurting Earth's feelings, Nathan.
No, Mother Nature has no feelings. There is no Mother Nature.
I didn't say Mother Nature, I said Earth.
Gaia, Earth,
Well,
it has no feelings. It's not a person. It doesn't have lungs. It's not sentient. It doesn't care how I identify it. When I found out that I'd been lied to about it being globe-shaped, the ground didn't open up and spring hallelujahs for me and go, "Lie, you realise how flat I am." No, it didn't do any of that. It didn't care.
You
It had
missed out,
no means of caring.
You really missed out on that. Must have missed it when that happened.
Oh, it did that for you, did it? Did the ground open up and sing hallelujahs for Arwin?
Well, I heard trumpets in the distance.
That was just the acid that you dropped.
2012.
That was nothing to do with flat Earth.
Yeah,
Well, just
you can only
as
hear
the,
trumpets that
algorithm-
loud from that big a distance if the Earth is flat.
Somebody's trying to over talk our farce, Arwin. Go ahead, John.
right. Well, as far as the algorithm goes, because it was fairly serious for a moment, I think it's a little bit unfair that NASA can utilize the plane of reference to detail how orbits work, or celestial navigation can use the plane of reference to, tell people how to navigate. But if we just point out the plane of reference, we are suppressed.
Yeah.
That seems a bit contradictory to me.
Well, no. What's suppressed is flat Earth, in quotes. Now, we bitch and moan quite frequently about how we do not necessarily want to be tarred with the same brush of flat earthism. And we've even got descriptive words for the process that you will go through when you arrive at this subject, namely the Feast of Nonsense. Well, if we're decrying all of those things, and it is those things that in the algorithmic sense you're discussing have required, from their point of view, suppression, then would you not applaud the suppression when we're talking about the nonsense? Just as you've just flashed up on screen, right, on the reel. So Jaron, back in the day, pointed out on YouTube, I think it was SpaceX as opposed to NASA. It might have been NASA. But they did a launch live. That is to say that what you received, like now, we are live. Obviously, if you're watching after the fact, it's not. But it will tell you under the video, this was broadcast live. And what you also get is this, which is the chat. So you can then see that there's a chat that runs alongside that people have reacted to. So somebody hopefully will confirm this now. So if I say, Duncan, if you can just say hi from the chat or something that indicates that this is genuinely live to make my point. Now, once this video is concluded, I can edit this video. But what would happen is the live chat would go away because it no longer matches time-wise with what's happened live. So there's no longer a live chat. Now, back in the day, I had the live stream with a chat on screen all the time, but that isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the chat that's next to, not in this video that you're looking at now. So if you were to press the button on the underneath the video that says live chat, it would come up. Now that was the case for SpaceX. They did a live stream. They do a live launch to Narnia, but there's a problem. There's a continuity error that's caught by people like Jaron. And he points it out because Jaron, like he used to do back in the days when he was excellent and did things like the ISS watch, was closely monitoring their live stream and broadcasting it himself and could show the continuity error when they went to Narnia. Now, upon this revelation that there was something not quite right in their live, in quotes, stream, I'm going to say SpaceX went back into the video, obviously with the help of YouTube, and edited a live stream. Now, no indication under the video changed. As far as anybody who comes back after the fact is concerned, that is how it went out live. But it wasn't. It's a total lie. YouTube assisted SpaceX in lying to the audience about what is reality. Live broadcast reality.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm concerned at that point, when YouTube, if they're in on the gig, I don't know, are prepared to broadcast this crap as being live when it's clearly edited together footage that they're just broadcasting from a computer, none of us would get away with that. SpaceX, it's the basis of our reality, right? They're buying into that crap. So it's tolerated to the point where not only is it tolerated, after the fact mistakes in a broadcast that's supposed to be live can be altered. And that was caught by Jaron and pointed out by Jaron. Now, these days, when it comes to NASA's requirements for a flat plane, this is where I was going with all of this. Back then, that seemed very important. How they pull the wool over your eyes through the methodology. It's like an appeal to format fallacy. Because in reality, what are they actually doing? What are they describing? What are the coordinates for their trip? They'll all need a flat Earth. So he gives a toss about the continuity errors. But then it seems so important. What a revelation! They've changed something that's supposed to be... Yeah, it's all based on a flat Earth, though. Here you go. There's their flat Earth in it. See these coordinates? That's all flat Earth measurements, that is. See this derivation of their map? That's all a flat Earth. Yeah? Every bit of this all leads back to a flat plane. So what does it matter that they put up a little bit of hocus pocus on the screen and said it was live? Yeah? They needed a flat Earth to do it. There you go. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that when they did that, I don't think that YouTube was in on it. I think that they actually kind of cleverly hacked the information and just replaced the video information.
Absolutely no way.
While leaving YouTube think it was always live there.
No way. No how. as far as this is concerned, I'm 100% behind Jaron with his conclusion. You don't even know the terms of service, Arwin. You've got no right to make comment, even though you're a YouTuber. There is absolutely no way they could have done that without the assistance of YouTube. They cannot edit a YouTube video and leave it as live. As live is a slightly different term. Do you know what as live means?
Well, yes, but they can, if they don't use the standard YouTube interface, basically bypass the entire software interface to doing these things and just, like a hacker, swap out data, which would be the video data that is left there, right? So outside of the YouTube
I'm going to say,
interface,
okay, you've weaseled it into a scenario. There's a fallacy name for this. But anyway, I can't remember the fallacy name. You've weaseled it into a position where it's semi-plausible. So I can't disagree with you. Okay. So your postulation is that bloody SpaceX have hacked their way into the YouTube mainframes, found their video that's distributed throughout their massive array of hard drives in various different chunks, and edited it on the fly without YouTube knowing. No. I'm just going to say no.
Well, when you say it like that, Nathan, I mean, it's likely that they probably figured out about it and basically okay, we'll just let you do that. Because I think that YouTube lets a lot of people get away with what seem like shady things that happen with channels and trolls and all that. I mean, there's accounts going around that literally unban themselves. That's absolutely logically impossible. Yet it just happens on the fly. So I think that YouTube is would rather just close an eye for it and just oh yeah, you do that, whatever.
But they've got no means of doing it. That's my point. Throughout the back end of YouTube, there is no means to do that. Anyway, let's just...
not through YouTube, but they would see it happening and just let it happen.
Okay, being that it's my point that it's majoring on the miners now in 2023 to look at going to Narnia videos and criticize whether or not they're live, given that all of the measurements, the telemetry, every single map and graph and chart all relies and is derived from a flat plane. Do you think I want to carry on with this conversation about whether or not YouTube are in on it? That's kind of missing the point, Arwin.
Yes, we do. Because, I mean, yeah, we know we're going to need a flat Earth for that, for everything, for even geometry itself, and no doubt for the origins of language and all that. It requires a flat plane. I'm not even joking. But the point is that it's still good to know that there is this illusion of a globe that's being actively, behind the scenes known and helped out to manipulate people with it.
Yes, I agree. And I agree, and
to learn about it.
I agree, and I applauded Jaron for making that point 4 years ago.
Yeah, me too. It was a good discovery.
It was 4 years ago, but times move on. Now, every bit of telemetry that they've ever said they've lost, should we focus on the fact they say they've lost it, or the fact that they're going to need a flat Earth for it? 83 watching, please share the show.
I think it's all a bit distracted away, though, because of science not proving anything.
There you go. That I can get behind.
Water, didn't it?
Yes, that I can get behind. Yeah, focusing on the how is a lot more interesting. Yeah, when it comes to how they've... Well, you take this, Rain, Arwin. It's your point. Go ahead.
Well, it's good to know what's going on with the deception and how these organizations and these groups with their own interests, how they go about in social media and in news, manipulating and tricking people. And it's good to keep track of that, of how the mind works in order to know how people are being manipulated, right? And that's just the sociological information that is completely separate from the mathematical, geometric, scientific information, where the Earth definitely is flat, measured,
right,
and all that.
There's a certain group of people, not necessarily flat earthers either, maybe people who have never even come across this subject, that are open to the level of manipulation that the world has on offer and seeing how it's done so that they can then move on with their life and essentially ignore it. You know, that is the worst case scenario for the people employing these tricks. And they are just tricks. And
Right.
like when I was at college, what part of the course was circus skills. Now, circus skills makes it sound like we had elephants. We didn't. What we did have was, you know, learning about how magic tricks were done. In fact, at one point, I ran a little magic stand with a friend of mine in the middle of Stratford, which is a very theatrical town, you know, selling fiery juggables and things like that. Anyway, the point is that when you learn how to do those things, it's all you're interested in when you see someone else doing a trick. You know there's a trick to it, and you're just trying to figure out how it's done. That's it. Now, people like Penn and Teller have made an entire show of this. Them sat in the audience, effectively, but with a camera on them, watching a dude on stage try and pull off a trick without them figuring out how they've done it. And essentially, that would be me in this scenario. You just look for how the trick's being done. In other words, you don't take in the news. Let's not actually pick a... I was going to pick a news topic of the moment, but chances are I'll get rumpused or talked over. Go ahead, Arwen.
I was just saying, you're not out to be convinced or persuaded by on a direction. You're just trying to see how they're doing it.
Exactly. You don't look at the news story and go, I wonder how true this news story is. You go, where's the trick? What's up the sleeve? Where's the sleeve? That's all you're looking for. And like I say, there's a group of people, 90 people watching. Oh, people are sharing the show. Really appreciate it. And super chats coming in. Hopefully won't lose my train of thought while I shout out the super chat. Sebastian Tello, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey guys, great morning. It certainly is. It's good to be back. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. I'm specifically referring to people that JLB refers to as the alternative truth community, the ALT, or whatever he calls it. Well, those people aren't necessarily even influenced in any way, shape, or form by what we do in terms of the nature of Earth specifically. But what they are doing, which we all typically here do also, is know that there's a trick afoot and just look out for where the trick is, as opposed to go, I wonder how much it's true about this story of a war in Zimbabwe. You know, you don't look at it in those terms anymore.
Right. It's not about what is true. It's like, how are they trying to fool you?
Exactly.
Because that's happening a lot out there.
Right. But on our journey,
you can learn a spot like,
there's
how
an
do you
overriding
know
point,
that there's
Arwen.
a likelihood that you're being fooled versus, no, this is just something that's just quickly moving by.
Well, talking of moving by, that was the point I was going to link it back to John's point, which is to say that he, and I'll definitely want to inherit this from him, is just looking for where the highway is. That's all he's looking for, on-ramp signs, right? On-ramp signs, so he can get his Ferrari or Lamborghini up to speed. That's all he's looking for.
Yeah,
so he's not looking at
exit.
Yeah, he's not looking at some globe representation where they go, no, look. Check it out. Here I am. I'm at the top of the globe. Here's my 3 lines to refracted horizons. And then 3 descriptions as per Brian. Each one transposed to the center individually. So it does work on a globe. When John hears that, he's not looking at it going, how does this make Earth a globe? Because he's so beyond that. It's like, how does this need a flat Earth? How's the trick being done? Where's their sleeve? Yeah?
Yeah, you are looking at the news asking, how much of this are they asking me to believe, rather than how much of this should I discount, kind of thing.
I've got a better example.
You got to be careful there.
When you watch a movie, you suspend disbelief. And you will assess the movie after you finish watching it on how, quote, believable the movie was. But you accept at a fundamental level that it's a movie and it is not real. Yeah, you understand that implicitly, right? Now, when it comes to watching the news, 99% of people do not accept the same exact truth. Now, for me, I'll just speak for me. When I watch the news, which I don't, if I were to watch the news, which I don't, I would look at it and go, How believable is this? How well has this made me suspend disbelief? Yeah? Can I immerse myself in the reality this gobblebox is giving me right now? Or not? That's the terms
Right.
that I look at it in. Now, average normie, oh no, how many have died in Zimbabwe? Do you see the difference?
Yeah. Well, I always look whenever I see any news clips or the whole thing, I'm always thinking, how are they trying to manipulate me? What agendas are they trying to push? And that's it pretty much, because like it's always there, whether you look at it or not. They're always trying to manipulate.
That's the annoying bit, whether you look at it or not. As much as I stopped watching TV in my teenage years, and got rid of TV licensing and TV in general, it's everywhere. You can't help it. The propaganda machine manages to weasel its way into all walks of life, everywhere you look in modern society.
If you don't get it through the TV or the radio, you're going to get it through other people repeating that TV or radio.
But just in the language itself. Go on, Brian, or whoever it was, John, that's trying to get a word in. Go ahead.
What? Yeah, I was going to say.
I was just wanting to,
We'll go John then. John then, Brian.
yeah, I was just going to say you got to be careful with this though, because when you're looking for that highway to truth, you have to know the truth first.
Yeah.
Looking at someone and trying to decipher what the truth is without any information is a dangerous path, and that can compromise you. So be careful.
It's the equivalent of having the sat-nav guide you to the highway. Now, the people who don't have any clue how the roads underneath the highway work and don't know where they are, there's a good chance that that person might end up being led into a river by the sat-nav. Anyway.
Well, what I have, the question, I've never really thought about this, but the natural question that always comes to my mind and has done for a very long time when it comes to the mainstream news is, how are they set to gain from this? Like, whatever they're telling you, the first thing that's in my mind is, how are they set to gain from me accepting what they're telling me? You know what I mean? So that'll tell you the lack of trust that's there. It's like, I'm instantly thinking, they're telling me a story because they've got something to gain from it, as opposed to it's news that would be worthy of telling me or informing people.
Shout out to Steph, smashing the super chat. Thanks for all you guys do. Oh, thanks for all you do, guys. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it, Steph.
Yeah, just I would caution people with, just because someone is wrong doesn't mean they're always wrong. And just because you found out something is false doesn't mean everything is false. So just be careful in your discernment and try to use logic and reason to take in the information that you're getting and base it against what you do know.
However, as a generalized position goes, you're maybe not going to like this refracted curvature, but in my humble opinion, those out there who auto-hoax, you ever heard that term?
Yes.
No.
An auto-hoaxer is someone that takes essentially the position that I described a moment ago, which is to say that you turn on the TV, the news comes on, and before the news report has even ended, you go, hoax. It's automatically a hoax, regardless of what the information is. Just accept that all of it is hoax. Yeah, that's an auto-hoaxer, as the name suggests. Now, I would suggest, I'm not that person, but I would suggest that that person is right more often than the person who takes the garbage off the telly box at surface level and accepts it. I would say that the auto-hoaxers got more chance of being right more of the time than the person that accepts the surface level as right.
I agree.
No, that's a reasonable position to take. That's fine. And you can take, I'm not going to argue that against you. I'm just saying that you don't know that. And that is the way that you deal with it personally. And I can't have a problem with that, but you don't know.
You don't know, but it's even things that were benign. I remember in not my very first job, but one of the first careers I had was in retailing audio equipment. And next door to the shop was a charity shop. And the BBC came out with one of their at the time, reasonably famous reporters to do a little piece on this charity shop. And they did the piece to camera, and we watched them set up and contrive and script what they were going to say and what they were going to talk about and how the talking points were going to be done. And because they were literally right outside the shop, we could hear the conversations. Now, since then, going forward in my career, I actually actively worked with TV and did those things with the production crew, and in fact changed the outcome of some of the TV stuff that I did was physically altered by my intervention. In other words, the outcome changed, and what was then presented to the public was changed because I had done something. You can have that much direct influence if you're physically producing something. Well, in the case of that, it was, to a degree, it was contrived. It was the gadget show. But what I'm referring to back in the day when it was this hi-fi shop next door to a charity shop, the way they made the magic of this charity scene was very different to the rat-infested hovel behind the shop that was piled high with 200 tons of crap that couldn't be sold that people had dumped in black bags day after day after day after day, all day long, right? Now, none of that got shown, none of that got mentioned, and what did get mentioned and discussed was entirely contrived for what was a drop-the-dead donkey fluff piece that undoubtedly went right at the end of the news. But what struck me was that even at that level where it's something totally benign, they still contrive it. Anyway, that's my piece for auto-hoaxing. If you're an auto-hoaxer, good for you, more power to you. Me, personally, I'm indifferent to the point where there's convincing or compelling evidence to, A, make me interested in it before anything else, and it's getting more like that day after day with Flat Earth. For things that seemed so important, that's why I was trying to make the point, got angry with Arwin earlier, because some things that seem so important in this subject turn out to be incredibly benign, so insignificant in the big scheme of things, that you go, what's this worth to me? Same with some of the argument points. I'll give you the best example. The horizon, right? We've discussed that for the entire show. Well, a good chunk of it at the beginning when we were doing housekeeping, right? Well, as a flat earther, I'm talking directly to you and pointing my finger at you as an audience member, as a flat earther, you've got no right to be interested in the horizon. It serves no interest to you. Now, you might go, well, what about proving Earth's flat with navigation? What, are you a navigator? What does it matter? Yes, we can use it as argument points when we take it and specifically reference it to how you can save your life at sea. We can give it the drama, we can give it the impact, we can make people understand how Earth is flat. But let's just look at this a different way. Who cares? Do you need the horizon ever for anything? I mean, dead serious. I'm looking at you as an audience member. Ask yourself that question. You go, well, we've got to argue about how it's refracted, or how it does something in the distance, or how boats go over it. Have you? Just stop. Why have you, a flat earther, got to explain any of those things? The answer is you don't. Yeah. Thank you for stealing my thunder. You don't. Sorry. Our opponents might have a positive assertion they need to defend, but what you can do is go, I don't believe you. And literally draw a line under it. What's that? You think I should do something? No, I've no interest in the horizon. I couldn't care less. What's that? You've got boats going over it proving a sphere Earth. Get to proving that to me. Yeah, I'm going to set the standard so high. But what actually happens is they take that really high standard and put it on you, the flat earther. You've got no need for the horizon. You don't need it. So why are you arguing about it? Are you interested in it? Does it help you somehow? No. You've fallen victim to a burden of proof reversal fallacy, where your opponent desperately needs the horizon to make claims about it, so desperately that it's far more effective as a positive fighting point to put that onus on you so you can fail. And you've got no interest, you've got no use for it. Go ahead, Darwin.
Right, because we have no geometric claim, they need it. And they really need it. And we don't really need it. We only have to disprove their claim, basically. That's what you're saying.
We don't even have to do that. We disprove their claim. How dare you? I've got better things to do. I've got a dishwasher to fill. No. You prove your positive assertion that the horizon is somehow interesting to me. And when you've got my interest first and foremost, then you can set about actually proving your physical geometric claim based on an Earth curve you say the horizon is. You will prove that to me, not the other way around. Let's get it clear.
Well, it's very easy to do it. We just say black swan, and then they say refraction, and then we say what's refraction, and then it goes to hell and into math and orthographic view.
No, we do not do that. What the reason that has been done is based on the fact that we have had the positive assertion put to us and taken it apart based on its assertion that the Earth is a sphere by whoever is making it. Now, our taking apart proactively a positive claim is something we should be thanked for the efforts that we put in where our opponents failed to prove that. Get my tongue around it. Prove their positive assertion. That is upon them to do. The onus is on them. Globe, Earth, horizon, you say? Prove it. Don't ask me for anything. How dare you? Got better things to do. And on that joyful note, I'm going to say if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Fortunately, if you are watching this live, though, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!